the World Chess Championship, the highest title and tournament for chess. Defending champion Magnus Carlsen goes against Ian Nepomniachtchi. Both grandmasters stay even in the opening 5 games. Game 6 historically has always been important. It holds true now.
Hello guys, for today we bring some highlights from the last competition, the World Championship match, playing between the current world champion Magnus Carlsen and Ian Nepomniachtchi. The format of those highlights consists in some important moments in the decisive games. Remember, this is a match played to select the best of 14 games, and the match finished in the round number 11 that it got a decisive result. But we are going to start with the first decisive game, and this happened in round number 6. In this round, we got this position with the world champion playing with white pieces. It's very important to remember that in this stage of the game, they were in move 80, more or less, 79, between 79 and 80. Right now is white to move. So the approach for this explanation is just understand the way to proceed for the world champion in order to keep the game going on. Remember that Magnus is a player that was very popular because when he entered to the league of chess player, he disliked the quick agreement of draws, and he continuously tried to push the game forward, increasing the pressure in the opponent, and this is exactly what he did in this game. White to move. This is a position that, according to the engine, is more or less balanced. White is slightly better with 0.4. And we can notice that we have this imbalance, between the pieces. For example, the bishop used to be stronger than the knight. We have 2 rooks against the queen. The numerical value of the 2 rooks is 10 points, and for the queen is 9 points. But those rooks are connected and are working together very well. So right now it's white to move, and it looks like this pawn is hanging, but Nepo is defending the pawn indirectly because of the counterattack on e3. Don't forget that can be quite tricky. So in this position, Magnus don't have like a simple way to continue, like just taking the pawn because of the counterplay on e3. So what he did is very instructive because it's a way to play in order to get a position where literally you don't have any risks to lose the game. With the bishop on the board, black may have some, let's say, theoretical and practical chances if in case that white miss something, because the queen can coordinate with another pieces. But without the bishop on the board, black will not have any kind of coordination, and the position can be very easy to play with white. So here, white to move. Thinking in this as a tactic, we have the most forced move available for white is the check plus capture. That is rook takes on f7, and that's the move that the world champion did in the game. In a first glance, it looks like he's losing the rook for free, but the idea is that black have to accept the sacrifice, and after the sacrifice, white move the rook to the 7th rank, forking the bishop and the king. The king have to go somewhere, and white is going to take the bishop. Let's say that the king goes to, in this position, it may have sense, move the king forward. I don't remember exactly what was the reply from Nepo in this moment, but really that don't change, the explanation or the evaluation of this, because after the king goes somewhere and white take, everything is defended and connected. So literally there is no, the rook is working alone, but the rook can come and look for some of those outputs. So white have a complete fortress, and there is no way to lose this game. The duration of this game was more than 120 moves. By the way, this was the longest game ever played in the history of the World Championship match. Magnus won the game. Remember that this game was the breakpoint of the tournament because win the game in such conditions from a position that was more or less even, with a lot of move, more than 8 hours sitting over the board, doing a lot of effort to, just to come back to the hotel and don't do anything. In the case of Nepo, it's quite tough mentally, and recover from that can be really hard. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight the let me go back to show you the sacrifice again. The position is more or less unclear how to proceed, but in this way, White can trade 5 points for 3.5 and 1 point. So really, it's not a sacrifice, because usually when we trade a rook for additional than a pawn, it's more or less the same, for sure. Yeah, it's an exchange sacrifice, but White will have the fortresses after we do the move again, after the tactics. King f8 and rook takes a7, and this is a very clever way to continue. If White remove the pawn, and that is what happened in the game, later the rest of the pawn with the knight and the rook, there is just too many pieces coordinating together. I think that the engine says that Black could defend the position, but from a human point of view, it's really impossible. So, well, this was the history until the first decisive result of the match. And now let's go to the second one that happened 2 rounds later in round number 8.
That's the way it is. As I said, it shouldn't be easy in a World Championship match, and you have to try for every chance, no matter how small it is.
Giving it all on Game 6, the challenger, Ian Nepomniachtchi, shows signs of fatigue and even tilting. Tilting is when a player in a competition lets negative emotion into his mind. For some, causing extreme anger and rage. Others, to beat themselves just enough to throw away their golden opportunity.
Okay, in this round, we have the challenger defending the black pieces. Something that Nepo was doing during all the match was using the Petrov defense, or the Russian defense, that leads to quite symmetrical position, and this is exactly what we have right now. This is a position with perfect symmetry, where the last move by White was bishop d3. And following the spirit of the Petrov defense, right now Nepo did bishop d6. That was probably, the start of all the troubles in this game. Well, what can be more natural than a normal developed move, centralizing the pieces, having the pieces defended by a pawn from behind, and keeping the symmetry? This looks perfect. But in the game, what happened is that Magnus castled, and probably at this point, Nepo started to think that things were not so simple, because if in the game, he did h5, and I will explain to you why he did this very strange move. Probably at this point, that it was number 9, he noticed that after short castle, queen to h5, creating this double attack, the pawn hanging on d5, and also the intersection pawn on a7, threatening a checkmate. And in this position, Black have to do this move, in order to block the intersection pawn, and also to close the figurehead. But this move may have some strategic consequence later, because the pawn here is blocking the bishop, and also White can preserve the initiative with bishop g5, later bring the rook to the open file. White have the positional advantage here. So being in a situation where you literally lose the first game of the match, and you are in a kind of must-win situation in order to tie the match, well, probably you don't want to play, let's say, this kind of slow inferior position. So after bishop d6 and castle, instead of select that line where he can defend passively, in this moment, Nepo decided to play h5, to, after the check, move the king to the center, but play with the king in the center and the rooks disconnected can be very, very difficult. Especially this expansion is not looking for any pawn break, because White structure is very solid. This is what happened in round number 8, and Nepo ending losing this game because his setup was pretty artificial, playing with the rooks disconnected because of that inaccuracy in the opening. By the way, in the initial position, let me go back there, when he did bishop d6, the correct move in order to kick the game completely balanced, it was queen e7. So when we are in the opening, we used to be a little bit relaxed, thinking that natural move should be enough to equalize the game. But about the check on e7, somehow this is a little bit unnatural because we are blocking the bishop. But the idea of the check is looking for a trade of queens. If white decide to kick the queens on the board, have to block the check with one of those bishops. But after that, black can castle long, probably be on time to complete the development, and the pawn structure will be still symmetrical anyway.
To blunder in chess is one of the main reasons lower level players lose games. This is also true for grandmasters. In the World of Chess Championships, one such example is Fischer vs. Spassky, Game 1. Fischer, taking a pawn, traps his bishop.
Okay, in this round, we have the world champion, Magnus Carlsen, playing as black. I am showing to you the position from white perspective because in this moment, Nepo did a big blunder that is in the history of the World Championship match as the biggest mistake ever made in a competition like this one. Really, about this position, I would like to explain you the psychological reasons of the blunder. So remember that in this moment he's 2 points down in the match. So he's if he was in a must-win situation before, imagine right now the match is quite advanced. Round number 9 is the best of 14 games, so he have quite limited time to strike back. So in this moment, Magnus with black pieces is attacking the pawn on c4. The pawn, under attack needs a defense. So let's evaluate the alternative. Well, the pawn is under attack. Normally, we would like to protect the pawn with the less valuable pieces. So knight a5 and knight d2 are not possible because both the squares are covered. We can discard the knight. With the bishop as well, both the squares are covered. So the pawn cannot be defended with another pawn because it's an isolated pawn. Cannot be defended with the minor pieces. Let's see the rooks. If this rook comes here, a2 is hanging. And if the other rook comes here to protect c4, e5 is hanging. So analyzing this, probably Nepo thought that he cannot defend the pawn using normal resource. That would be like the passive defense. So because of that, he did c5, pushing the pawn forward, and this was a big blunder. Okay, let me mark with a... Okay, I'm going to try to mark this with a glyph. Okay, here we go. c5, big blunder. Why this is a blunder? He missed a simple move played by the world champion. There is some fun videos where Magnus have a face like, wow, what is happening here? This cannot be real. So Magnus pushed the pawn to c6, and in this moment, the bishop is trapped because the pawn cooked the line and the bishop cannot return to home. So the next move will be something like, let's say, rook a7 and just take the bishop, and it's game over. He lost the pieces in this way. He kept fighting, doing some more move, but yeah, after c6 is literally game over. So what Nepo could do here in order to defend the pawn? Sometimes, when we cannot defend something in a passive way, we have to look for counterplay. And maybe one possible move can be, for example, something like f3 to try to put pressure on the pawn in this way because the knight is pressing the pawn on e5. So after f3 and knight a6, let's say that maybe this could be an alternative, rook fc1, rook ed1, because now the rook is not bind to the defense of the central pawn. So that's also something to keep in mind. If you cannot defend something with regular resources, look for counterplay. And maybe doing that, because of the change in the position, you may have some new alternative. Okay, so notice how even the best players in the world may have difficulties with this. Okay. Well, at this point of the match, we are 3-0 in favor of the world champion, and this victory was especially tough for the challenger because, yeah, Magnus won the game with black pieces. What have an special importance, because with black pieces normally we try to equalize the game. So
But
Wait,
on to
but it's losing.
Wait.
It's losing.
Oh my God! Did he just blunder?
Yeah, he did. C6.
Oh my God!
the next decisive result happened in the round number 11. Between round number 9 and round 11, Nepo did 2 solid draws. He managed to stabilize a little bit. But for round number 11 and the final round of the match, we didn't get the round number 14. We have the final decisive result, the 4 victory for Magnus. Let's say, well, we're not consecutive victories, but consecutive in the point of view that Nepo never, strike back. So in this position, is white to move, and now white is facing an important moment because this pawn on d4 is attacking the knight, and he have to do something about that. Notice that in this position, this pawn can be captured by 2 pieces, with the rook and with the pawn on c3. So both options are valid. Normally, we would like to consider probably with the less valuable piece, but in this specific position, even despite white have this option, maybe Nepo dislike the fact that after 9 takes, he have to play the rest of the game with an isolated pawn on d4. Well, let's say after takes, I don't know if white have some counterplay on c7. Let's try. Yeah, queen takes on c7 may be a possibility, but black can capture the pawn, creating intersection point, and the isolated pawn is still there. So notice that in this moment, the challenger started to be worried about the fact that if he captures the pawn on d4, he will have a position with a knight qp that normally is not too good, especially in a situation when there is, few minor pieces on the board. He have some counterplay on the backward pawn, but really black pieces will be centralized. So take the pawn is literally a set, like a very slow game, when inferior pawn structure where the chance to win are 0. Literally, you are fighting for the draw with white pieces, and maybe there is no situation more sad than that fight for the draw with white pieces being in a match, where you are down 3-0 it should be horrible. You have to be in his shoes. So instead of do that, he did a kind of reaction that he should do in the previous decisive game that we saw. He did here g3. So notice that he went for counter attack in a position where he could resolve the trouble with a solid and, let's say, a passive defense, just removing the attacker from the board. So instead of that, he did an active defense, creating the counter attack, and this is a big blunder. Before this move, the evaluation of the position is 0, and after this, that is what happened in the game, the evaluation is almost -8 in favor of black. So the easy line to evaluate is that the capture of the knight, the capture of the rook, and the capture of the pawn. Even with our specific calculation, after this, and this king is so exposed and vulnerable because there is no pawns in front and the other pawn can be removed at any moment. This is a position that looks so difficult to play, that probably we don't need to invest too much time to calculate as white that this should be a losing position. So literally, I think that this g3 move is just the reflect of desperation, and maybe at this point of the game, he just wanted to finish the match doing something drastic. I mean, not resigning for sure, but probably just trying to complicate the game at any cost, even at the cost of the defeat. But is what Nepo did, and after g3 takes, and queen g4, Magnus have a quite powerful attack. He bring the knight. There is some extra ideas with transfer the rook along the sixth round. The conversion of the world champion was not too good because later he had to win a rook endgame. But I think that he did it, safely in a very solid way. That is how you usually would like to face those kind of competitions. A personal match against a unique opponent, where you have to take care very well of each result.
First of all, Magnus, let me say congratulations on winning your 5th title. Your immediate feelings right after the match is concluded.
No, I'm very happy. Of course, didn't expect it to go quite like this.
Well, guys, with this we finish with the highlights from the World Championship match, analyzing some specific positions that I can consider can be very instructive because there is many ideas that we can apply in our own games. I hope you enjoyed the content and the video. Thank you very much for follow the channel, for all your support. I really appreciate it. We are going to prepare more new things for you. So keep tracking the channel. Thank you so much. Bye.